12:13, 13 minutes past the noontime hour. Hope you've enjoyed the show all live today. Like I said, we got to get this Wi-Fi thing. We just moved in, so we are in our permanent home. And like I said, before I wrap up, I will give you some flicks, some shots of the new setup. I may just have to take some pictures, and post them later. But nonetheless, I've got to give you my Week 13 NFL picks. As you know, we got Thanksgiving games mixed in here. So here we go. I'm going to give you my picks. Then, tomorrow I'll post the schedule up so you can take a look at it and see what goes on. See what you want to do, what you want to watch for your Turkey Day enjoyment. So we've got Chicago at Detroit at 12:30. In this game, I'm going to go with Chicago because of their defense. I don't know if the starting quarterback for Detroit, now his name escapes me right now. I know Driscoll has been playing the last Matthew Stafford. I don't know if Stafford is going to be playing on Thanksgiving as of yet. So for right now, I'm going to go with the defensive edge and go with the Chicago Bears in that game. That's a 12:30 game on Thanksgiving Day. The second game on Thanksgiving Day, the 4:30 p.m. game, Buffalo at Dallas. Now, this gets a little tricky because you know how I feel about the Cowboys. And it's no disrespect. They started out playing very well. They showed signs of being a pretty good team. I still think they are who they are. I think that if they make the playoffs, they may be one and done again this year. It's tough for this game because I don't know what Buffalo team is going to show up. Like I said, they just won yesterday. They beat up on Denver. And not that I'm saying that I like them or anything like that, but I'm just calling a spade a spade. Dallas is not Denver. Dallas is better than Denver. I hate to say it that way, but it's the truth. They are better. Like I said, I'm no Dallas fan, no way, shape, or form, but I call it like I see it. I call a spade a spade. And if I go by what I've seen, Dallas is better than Denver. So with that one, I'm going to stretch and I'm going to stay with my guess. I'm going to go with Buffalo on the road for the win to help out the Eagles. New Orleans at Atlanta is the 8:20 game on Thursday, Turkey Day. I'm going with New Orleans on the road. As I said, here they come. You can see it. We move into Sunday's games, December the 1st. Got the New York Jets at Cincinnati. I'm going with the Jets in that game. Tennessee at Indianapolis. Indianapolis coming off a loss. I'm going to go with the Colts at home. Oakland at Kansas City. I'm going with Kansas City at home at Arrowhead. Taking the Eagles on the road in Miami. I'm looking at Green Bay and discount double check Aaron Rodgers to bounce back against the Giants. I am going to take Carolina over Washington at home. Carolina is the home team. I'm going to take them. Jacksonville at Tampa Bay. It's a tough pick here. I don't know. I'm going to stretch this game, take a guess, a gamble here. I'm going to go with Jacksonville at home. Baltimore, San Francisco. Now, this is a game that's very intriguing to me, and I'm definitely going to have my eyes and ears open around this game. My partner will probably be mad at me, a little upset, but like I said, this is the team that I think can make some noise in this league, albeit San Francisco is 10-1 or 11-1 right now. Great scheme on both sides of the ball. Great coaching, great play, dominating people. But they're going to get ready to face a quarterback that a style that they haven't seen as of yet. You could argue Russell Wilson for that moment, but Russell Wilson's getting up there in age. He still can do some things, but he's getting a little up there in age. Lamar Jackson is emerging as a better scrambler, runner, using his legs, improviser right now. No disrespect to Russell Wilson, like I said, Russell Wilson, I'm sorry. No disrespect to him, but he is somewhat on a decline, as it showed yesterday when against the Eagles. So I'm going with this one. I'm going with Baltimore at home. The LA Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going with the Rams there. The Chargers are going to Denver. I'm going with the Chargers over the Broncos. The rematch, Pittsburgh at Cleveland. I'm going to stretch here, and I'm going to go with Cleveland. I think Cleveland's going to try and prove a point and win that game for Myles Garrett. And finally, rounding out Sunday, December the 1st, New England at Houston. I'm going to stretch and go with Houston there. Like we said, we've seen some things in New England that people are starting to worry about. Closing out Week 13, Monday, December the 2nd, Minnesota at Seattle. A tough NFC battle. I am going to go with Seattle because of the Russell Wilson factor. So there are my picks for Week 13. I'm going to put these to the side so when we come back next week, we can go over the scores and we'll have those picks there. Now, we're going to get into some NBA stuff, I'm sure. It's 20 minutes average, so I've got 40 minutes, like I said. But I wanted to mention this one story. Well, two stories I wanted to touch on, I wanted to mention before I closed out and got off air. And I know I said I wanted to mention Melo, but we all know Carmelo's back in the league. The big question, though, is he going to help or is he going to hurt the Portland Trailblazers? I think if he's used correctly, I think he will help the Portland Trailblazers as much as he possibly can. I think he finally understands his role now, his current role, due to his age and the mileage on his body, the physical mileage on his body from his career. So I think he'll help them a lot. I think, like I said, it's a matter of him being used properly. So one of the interesting stories I wanted to mention, or the trending stories I wanted to mention, if you haven't seen it already, it is concerns of Memphis's James Wiseman, who is now, he has to sit 10 more games as a result of a suspension. Being the fact, if you don't know the story, his family was given money, donated to money to help them move to Memphis so he could come and play for Penny Hardaway before Penny Hardaway was the actual coach. At the time, Penny Hardaway was allegedly a booster for the University of Memphis basketball team. He is now the coach. And with all the stuff that's going on, you know, the big monster, the big conglomerate, the NCAA, who has made a living over getting over on young athletes, student athletes. They made a big stink of it. So he's got suspended 12 games. He's already served 2. He has 10 more to go. And he's been ordered, for some strange reason, to pay this $11,500 to the charity of his choice. So with that part being said, you know, it shows me that they're taking advantage continually, because while he's in college, there's no way he's going to pay that. So ultimately, they know that he's going to be the number 1 pick or a very high draft pick going into the NBA. And they feel like, okay, at some point, when he does get the money, he has to donate this money. How do you put that stipulation on a kid, a student athlete, who never took any of that money hand to hand? The money was provided for his family in assistance for moving, and that was it. There was no gifts or anything. It was an assist by a booster for them to move to Memphis so that the kid could attend college and play basketball. So again, we can always talk, we can talk about the NCAA and their ruthlessness and their bullying throughout a whole show. We can give you a 2-hour show on that. And at some point, I think we will. We probably will. But for now, as I say, bullying taken advantage of at its finest, the NCAA, you know it, you see it, we'll talk about it. And again, we will probably get to a show. We will go in full detail in the trickery of the NCAA. Now, the second story I wanted to mention is the story that's been talked about very quietly, very briefly. If you are not in my line of business, or if you are not, as we would like to say, a total sports junkie, you probably missed this story. But last week, Chris Carter was fired from Fox Sports. As you know, Chris Carter was on Fox Sports. He did the show with Nick Wright. First Things First, it was called, with Nick Wright. Pretty good show. I thought that Chris Carter was good in his analysis of other sports, let alone the football analysis, because he was a football Hall of Famer, if you will. but he was also very good and very marginal, if you will, on other sports. So, you could kind of take a lot of the things that he said for what they were worth. It's very, very little detail on the reason for the firing, but there are rumors being said or put out that there was a disagreement about his role with the station. There was some concern about him not being added to the Thursday night football team. So we will probably never know the full extent of the firing. But, everybody talked about Stephen A. Smith and what he did with the Kaepernick situation and things of that nature. And here you have a guy, again, like I said, we'll never know the true story of the firing, but who was never talked about in that positioning like people have talked about Stephen A. Smith on several occasions, calling him the coon and all of that kind of stuff, saying that he was a negative person and he just took the money, whatever. Your opinions are your opinions, but for a guy like Chris Carter, who you never had those conversations about, you never heard that talk about him in that sense, to be fired and for limited information to be leaked out or told or detailed about the situation makes you wonder that there's a lot more to it that could possibly be detrimental to one or both sides that is not being told. So I will do some more digging on that and see if I can find anything else. And as soon as or if and when I find something, I will definitely get that information to you as well. So before I talk a little bit of Sixers, before I close out the show, again, getting back to this NBA changes and the change in the calendar, what they're looking at possibly is a 78 game regular season, an in-season tournament, and play-in games to determine playoff berths and reseeding teams during the postseason. So, sounds like, in essence, they are trying to make the NBA very, very similar to the NCAA, with the in-season tournament, the play-in tournament, the reseedings, and all of that nature. Kind of interesting to see how that's going to play out in the NBA. They're still in talks, like I said, so it's nothing that's going to happen in the immediate future. So don't look for it to happen next season. It has to be, taken to the board of governors. It has to be fully discussed. It has to be fully mapped out and planned. And it has to be feasible for the NBA in order for it to be put in place. So we will definitely see what happens with that. So we move on, and we are going to talk some Sixers right now. You see, like I said, I have on the Sixers hat. I am representing. Sixers face off against the defending champs, the Toronto Raptors, tonight, who are still playing good basketball. Although they are without Kawhi Leonard, but they are still playing good basketball. Sitting up there, top 5 teams in the East, along with the Sixers, Celtics, and a few other teams that are in the mix. But Pascal Siakam has picked up where he left off in the playoffs last year and has been doing his thing, providing the punch that Toronto apparently needs when they need a punch. So, talking about my Sixers, again, people, it's getting close. It's Thanksgiving coming up this Thursday. And if you remember, like I mentioned, I said to you all several occasions that I feel like come late December, early January, this thing will be starting to come together. It could have been just because of the moment on Saturday with Jimmy Butler returning and Josh Richardson playing against his former team. But that game Saturday, in that total blowout, those guys looked like what you were expecting in the offseason when this roster was put together for the first time. A lot of cohesiveness, a lot of team play, and again, a lot of grit on that defensive end. And I think that is what they want to try and make their title. That's what their staple is going to be, their defense. People are still in a way about Ben Simmons not shooting the ball, I included. I'm not as far in a way or as much in a way as a lot of people are. My interpretation of it, like I said, he hit the three-pointer the other night. My interpretation of it, and I'm sure there are some people who agree with me. One person in particular, my Uncle George, all the way down in Virginia, who agrees with me in a lot of things that I say, a lot of things that we agree with, and we talk about the Sixers often. But one of the things I feel like, and one of the things I say is my concern with Ben Simmons, is I think that he needs to just play basketball. And I will explain this for people who may not understand what I mean, but any true basketball head, true basketball fan knows what I mean when I say that. But to give you a clearer definition, a lot of the talk is about him driving and getting in the paint and looking to kick the ball out to a shooter or a three-point spot up or whatever. I feel like if he gets into the paint, he just starts shooting that shot. And this is what I mean by just playing basketball. Just get there and shoot it. You can shoot that 5 times a game, 10 times a game. I mean, at this point, I don't care if you miss them all. What I need you to do is I need you to shoot them. Because, in my opinion, seeing what you do offensively, what you can do offensively at your size, that will only make everything else that you do that much easier through the game. And then you'll start hitting those shots because people will see that you're shooting it. And as you shoot it, you'll get accustomed to shoot it. It'll be a rhythm, and you can shoot it. Also, I have to go in agreement with what a lot of other people say as well. People are still stuck on this three-point shot, which we know the NBA has changed now. The game is now outside, inside is the way it's played now. But I need my point guard to shoot free throws. I don't care if he shoots 15% from three-point line right now. He's 23. He can develop that shot later on. As a point guard at 6'10", I need you to be a little bit more than 50-something% from the free throw line to be my point guard because of your skill set. And one of the pluses I do have on Ben Simmons right now, though, is his aggressiveness and his determined and focused nature on the defensive end. I think that is a boost for the rest of the guys on the team, and they've all have followed suit. I just think that we need to have a lot more games like Saturday. And I don't mean just the blowout. I mean the focus from the very beginning to detail on both ends of the floor, the offense and the defensive end. If we have more games like that, I think my prediction will come true. It'll be late December, early January. This team will gel and begin to start rolling, heading into the All-Star break and then picking up right after the All-Star break and really make some noise down the stretch in the second half of this season. So I also think that the Sixers need to take a look, and I saw that they have some interest. I don't know if they've spoken or not yet, but Jamal Crawford is still available. I think Jamal Crawford would help this team immensely. The last year or so, he has expressed interest in playing for the team. There's something that he likes, the guys or the style of play or something, or he feels like he can help. So I think Elton Brand and the guys need to reach out. We do have some guys that are expendable. You know, I'm not going to call some names out now. I mean, you know the roster. I'm not going to call the names out like I said, but we have some guys that are expendable where we can make room and bring in a Jamal Crawford signing, which I think will help immensely, like I just mentioned. So the Sixers are in pretty good shape, like I said. People are upset because of the Al Horford was in a little slump. They were mad because Tobias Harris was in a little slump. Both of these guys are appearing to come out of that, especially Tobias Harris, a little bit quicker than Al Horford. But the skill sets are there. And like I said, I think the guys will use Miami's blowout as a boost, as a jump start for, or a kickstart, if you will, for the remainder of the season. And again, folks, I said, a lot of Philly fans want the instant satisfaction. It's going to take some time. Like I said, you pretty much have a rebuilt roster with a couple of pieces that were here from starting lineup. Your starting lineup now has pretty much, arguably for sakes of length purposes, 3 new starters. I mean, you got Tobias Harris in the trade, but you didn't have these guys for the entire season as you do now. So it's going to take a little bit of time for it to come together, but I definitely think it will come together. So you got to be patient with it. Right now, if I look at the standings, I think they were 5th right now in the conference, which I think will change. Again, like I said, I think that's going to change. I think they'll move up in the division and in the standings in the conference because of what they have. And like I said, you saw what it could be on Saturday night. And I think they'll just build on that, improve, get rolling, keep this thing rolling, and be a team to reckon with in the Eastern Conference down the stretch. So, again, Sixers tonight against the world champion Raptors. I look for a Sixers win tonight. I don't see why they can't beat the Raptors. So I'm pulling for a Sixers win. Actually, I'm calling a Sixers win tonight. Now, I got to talk a little bit about the LA Clippers before I give you your your schedules for tonight. I've been talking to people, just throwing some things at people just to get some information about the LA Clippers with their new acquisitions of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, who turns out, after watching them the other night, they could be very scary. A lot of people are talking about the Lakers with LeBron and AD, but I just think that combination of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard can be a little bit more scarier. The biggest thing I focus on when I say that to a lot of people, and a lot of people have agreed with me, is the fact that you've got 2 guys now playing together who are very, very skilled offensively, but they also are very, very skilled defensively. Excuse me, and have no issues with playing defense and turning that into offense. The offense for them is easy, but these guys make the defensive side look easy. And you throw in the pieces that they have there, the Patrick Beverley, another defensive juggernaut, Montrezl Harrell, a grown man. Then you've got the ultimate 6th man in the NBA right now, Lou Williams, coming off the bench. So it is really, really strange that this team has been put together and they're not being called the super team, because we've pretty much tried to take that name out of the sport. But again, this team could be very, very scary. So I urge all you people that are fans of a team in the Western Conference, all you Lakers fans, don't sleep, because they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think this is another thing that will help the Blazers with picking up Carmelo against them because of his skill set and his size and what he can do. But again, they still are a bit scary to me. So with that being said, I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, we will wrap things up. I will give you your Monday night NBA schedule, your Monday night NHL and NFL schedules, give you all of my contact information, and tell you how you can stay in tune with everything Heat 100 Radio and SportsRap. See you on the other side in just a few minutes. It is now 12:37, 37 minutes past the noontime hour. It's your boy D, SportsRap, Heat 100 Radio. See you on the other side.